gosh, I'm trying to remember, 6 months ago, you know, it was certainly destined to become a lunch at the library event. And it sort of doubled my enthusiasm when the lady that wrote the book, Willie Mae Brown, just happened to be a really good friend of mine. Willie Mae and her sister Maisha have been in my life for a long time, and I'm proud to know both of them, and especially proud of what they've accomplished, how productive they have become, how caring and loving and kind. And Selma has some stories that none of us are proud of,
All right.
regardless of our color. And so, as we were at Westside yesterday, not Westside, R.B. Hudson yesterday, and spoke with 3 6th grade classes, 140 kids. The main character in the story, if you've not read it, is 12 years old. So that was a natural group to pick for Willie Mae to talk to. And it was tremendous interaction back and forth with the kids. But one of the things, and Willie Mae's story is rough. I mean, there's bad stuff in there. But one of the things she impressed on the students, and one of the things she impressed on me, you've taught me a lot, was this is our past. You know, this is where we came from. This is what we've accomplished together. And then to the kids, you know, what are you going to do with that? You know, where are you going to take it? You're going to be proud of it, but you're not going to focus on it as a bad thing. You're going to focus on it as your future. And so one of the really neat things we're going to do together via, I guess, email when she goes back to New York, is that we challenge those 6th graders to write their story of my Selma. Who is your Selma today? What does it look like to you? You know, Willie Mae's story is about her family, her day-to-day activities, her puppy dog, as well as the compelling stories of civil rights. But it's more important what we do with our past and how we continue to go forward. And certainly that's the Selma mantra now. Not who we have been in the past. We have to stand on that and have to accept it. But what are we going to do with it? And so I'm excited about what we're going to get from these papers, from the kids. We're going to share them, maybe hopefully in some type of little book or whatever. So this is a tremendous day. It's a great day to have friends together for lunch, and delightful to have new faces that we haven't had, and I hope that you'll take advantage of our lunch activities, which will continue through spring, and come and be with us more often. So I'm going to start today with our belated blessing, and I'm going to ask you just to bow your heads. Gracious God, we thank you for the food we have eaten. We thank you for a good town in which to live. Today we give you thanks for stories and those who bring them to us. Especially we're thankful for the life of Willie Mae Brown and so many courageous people who believed in justice and equality for all. Lead us all ever onward into daily acts of kindness and peace, that we may do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before you at all times. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Now, I'm going to introduce Maisha. Well, I'm going to introduce
No, you didn't.
Maisha. Maisha comes to us from the state of Wisconsin,
See, they
flown
don't-
down here to be with us, and she is going to, of course, she's the sister in the story. But I'm going to let her, no one could introduce Willie Mae like his sister. So I'm going to ask Maisha, while your sister trembles, will you join me in welcoming Maisha?
Good afternoon. I'm so honored and so pleased to be here. When I read the book about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I live in Wisconsin, and I was reading the book, and it was in the library, and they have a new library in Wisconsin. It's in the Oak Creek district, and it's called the Quiet Room. And I started there were scenes in the book that was it was hilarious, and I would laugh out, and I go, oh, I'm in the quiet room, I can't do that, I I gotta be calm here. But it just brought back to life my childhood and growing up in Selma. And so my sister dedicated this book to our mentor, and his name is Daisaka Ikeda. And she also dedicated it to my two nephews, her sons, Boston and Christopher. So I just want to say that on behalf of my brothers and sisters and all of their family members, I'll just begin with a quote from Daisaka Ikeda, our mentor. And he once said, this is one in his daily encouragement, he said that when you encounter a wall, you should tell yourself, quote, since there is a wall here, a wide open expanse must lie on the other side, unquote. Rather than becoming discouraged, know that encountering a wall is proof of the progress that you have made so far. I hope that you will continually advance in your daily life with this conviction blazing ever more strongly in your heart. So I'm quite sure that my sister encountered many great walls of obstacles in writing her book, but she never succumbed to that. And for me, she brought back a life that was a life with our childhood, our family members, of growing up in a family that cherished and embraced. We cherish love, we cherish unity, health, economics, stability, education, happiness, empathy, justice, dignity, truth, and all aspects. These were all the aspects that contribute to our lives. We also in our family, it brought back to life our family dynamic, where we were taught that every human being made a difference, that it didn't matter the color of their skin, it didn't matter their mental or physical challenge. Everyone had dignity. So her book, I loved reading it. I'm going to read it again and again. And I deeply appreciate her integrity in writing it to the T. So I just want to say, come on up.
I always obey my sisters. The preface of myself. I write these stories of a Selma that I knew and loved, my own Selma, a Selma that brought me joy, troubled me, and baptized me into racial injustice and into the race for justice. I write these stories through the voices of people who lived at the time when I was growing up in Selma. We lived together, schooled together, played together, we churched together, and fought together for the same rights as our white brethren who denied us the freedom we were born with.
All right.
The civil rights freedoms of a people separated by color, ignored by color, despised by color, abused by color, murdered by color. But the color would not fade easily in Selma. That color would not run when it rained. That color did not mix with the white because it stood out when it should have known its place in the South, in Selma. I write from voices in my memory. I write from being a nosy person. I write to record the truth about the white people who lived among us, and although in Selma we were outnumbered, they outweighed us because of their color.
All right.
Let this be known. Not all whites in Selma, Alabama were hateful. Please do not forget that. But for many of them, their color was a color of pure, clean hatred. I write about Selma because our lives have historical precedence in shaping the future. I write so that you may hear, see, smell, and feel the injustice of ignorance, but also the sweetness of everyday life. Illuminated in my words. In my stories of Selma, much is written in the dialect of the people living there, words I still hear in my head. I thought this was important because it gives flavor to the truth. Many things played out behind closed doors in Selma and inside my home as the civil rights movement came together outside in the streets. I want you to come with me and look back on a time when men hunted men for game, when the law was always on the side of the white. Selma, your secrets are not safe with me. Wait, everyone has his or her memories of a place and time when and where they lived, and everyone experiences different things in their towns, their cities, and their states. No two people will have the same exact memory, and everybody has their Selma. This is my Selma.
All right.
Mine is a progressive, possessive adjective. This is my Selma, and I knew what was going on. I also would like to read to you, this is a letter. When you buy this book, and usually when wholesalers buy this book or retailers, it comes with it, in case I'm not there, to tell you about this book. It's to you. This is my letter to you, dear reader. I've wanted you to read these stories about my Selma for some time now. Before you begin reading, there are a few things that I want you to know. I want you to know that I am the character Hundy in this book, and I still exist. I want you to know that I was a child who grew up in that place, that infamous place called Selma. I want you to know that some of the family and people I talk about are still with us, and some of them are gone. I want you to know that I wrote about many of the things that I love about Selma, how it smelled, how it used to sound, how it hummed at night when I was sleeping, and how it made me feel. I want you to know I had a brave and wonderful mama and a wonderful and brave dad, and they worked and protected us, and we played and did things that most any children do. But there were many things we weren't allowed to do as black children in a white-run town filled with so much bitterness and division and hate and violence. I want you to know that I was and still am a black and proud Negro female and have overcome some of the things that some white people did to us Negroes in Selma. I want you to know again that it's not all white people who abuse Negroes in Selma. I want you to know that I fought for your civil rights while I was fighting for my own. I was young, and maybe you were not born yet, but that doesn't matter, because all of us who fought, who were frightened, who were hurt, who died, who stood on unmoving voter registration lines in the hot sun and sat down at segregated lunch counters while being insulted and spat on, who were locked up in jail, who manned the phones and ran errands, who organized our protests, who prayed for and preached to help us protesters. All of us who did what we did it all for you. And here you are. I write the stories to remind you of a past so that you will watch over and take care of our future. Dear reader, it is my pleasure to meet you in sharing my Selma. Thank you so much. A defiant king. Don't forget that I'm a child of that story. I'm Hundy. honey, but Southerners say honey. Right? And I love it, just like I love Selma. One day I was sitting alone in the kitchen, losing respect for that if it was latched. Yes, little sister. Is there an adult here? Yes, sir. There's an adult here. What you want? I asked, looking him over. The man wore a very white dress starched shirt with a little red bow tie, and his cufflinks were gold and shaped like crescent moons. He had on a jet black suit, which made him look important, although the jacket hung slightly off his shoulders. What's your name? I asked him. My name is Daoud Khalil X, he replied. Mr. X had a few newspapers in his left hand, and in his right hand he held a carton of eggs. He was clean shaven. His shoes wore a spit shine, bright enough to see my face in them. Okay, I'll go get her. You wait right here, I said. As I turned away from the door, Mama was coming inside the back door with the laundry she'd taken off the line. Her eyes were fixed on the silhouette of the man. She put the clothes basket on the floor and came quickly to the front door, wiping her hands on an apron. Mama moved me away from the center of the door and greeted the man. How you doing? May I help you? Yes, ma'am. My name is Daoud Khalil X, and I am from the Nation of Islam. Assalamu alaikum, my sister, he said, speaking quickly. Sister, I'm here as part of the movement in Selma, and I'm selling eggs today to raise money to fund our cause for the movement. Sister, could you help us today? The eggs are 50 cents for the carton, and the paper is free. Mama instructed me, baby, go get my purse from the chair in the room and don't go inside of it and looking for nothing. Sounds familiar?
Very, very.
Sounds familiar. Seems like we all been there.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell the truth today.
All right.
Yes,
I'm ready.
I know. When I returned, she took out a $50, pushed the door open and handed the money to the man through the door. The man handed back the carton of eggs. What did you say you doing in here, sir? Mama asked him. Because before he could answer, she asked another question, and where are you from? Sister, we come here to be a part of the movement for civil rights. We are here to help bring about the change that we all seek. Negroes want the same freedom as the white man, the freedom to move about as we please safely, and to vote, to eat, to sleep, to exist, and to live as we please. And we want equality, and yes, sister, my queen, we want to be shown the same respect as the white man. And sister, I am from Chicago, Illinois. With a slight step forward and his head cocked to one side, Mr. X asked my mother a question in the same breath as he answered, have you ever been to Chicago? Have you lived here all your life? Mama gripped the handle on the door and pulled it close to her. Most of my life. I was born in Choctaw County in York, Alabama. We're in Dallas County now. And she said, pointing her finger down to the floor. Well, he said, you must have seen a lot going on here because I've seen things in Chicago and heard of things that had made me cry. As a grown man, I had cause for weeping. I know what you mean, said Mama sympathetically. But I want you to try to be more careful down here as possible. Watch your step in the way you look at these here white people. They mad now because they feeling the heat on them, and we ain't playing no more. This is it. We ready. And a lot of people are going to suffer, both white and Negro. And all I can say to you is to be careful. It's been nice talking with you, my queen, he said, stepping away from the door. His bald head reflected the sun on his crown. And I want to thank you for your support. I'm going to leave my nation's newspaper with you. Just promise me you will read it, and you will have your children read it as well. And don't forget to vote, and go out to the rallies. There's lots of meetings coming up, he said with a smile. Mr. X placed the newspaper on the porch swing. Then he adjusted his shoulders to straighten his back, tucked the rest of his newspaper under his armpit, and stepped off the front porch, his raised head even higher than before. The sun rays glorified his every move, for which he seemed to mumble appreciation under his breath. He had found his swagger, moving off into the street with long black legs and black trousers connected to his shiny black shoes, and smoothly went to his next destination. Mama and I had never seen anyone like Mr. X before, nor had we ever heard those strange words, Assalamu alaikum. Mama said they were a form of greeting in his culture, but she didn't understand why he kept calling her a queen. All our confusion was cleaned up when we read the free newspaper he had given us. After Mr. X left, Mama and I went back into the kitchen as she took a Coke from the refrigerator. I quickly scraped my uneven food into the trash and added my plate to the dishes in the sink, happy that Mama had been distracted from making me finish my unwanted meal. As I sighed and got ready to start washing up, Mama surveyed the state in which the dishes in the sink were arranged. She said, "I'm going to have that talk with you and your brother and sisters tonight about how they pile these dishes up with the pots here together." Sounds familiar,
Oh,
right?
no. Oh, no.
The Southern folk. She said, "You children are always rushing, and that's why me and your daddy are always on you, 'cause y'all don't take your time. Move to the side and let me straighten out this mess before I start folding the clothes," she said, reaching over me and carefully removing everything from the sink. Then she filled it with clean soapy water and put the plates in. Okay. Now you can wash them without breaking anything. After the plates, do the glasses. You don't have much to do. It just looks like a lot, baby," she said, pinching my cheek before leaving the room with her Coca-Cola in her hand. With another sigh, I sat down at the table for a while before I started and thought of all my friends who were outside playing and down the street. And where the heck were my brothers and sisters? It wasn't my time to clean the kitchen. I needed answers. I screamed, "Mama! Where's everybody? And why am I the only one home with you right now?" Mama stopped folding the clothes in her bedroom. I knew this. And came to the kitchen door. "You were napping when everyone left. Your brother went out in the country with Uncle Lot, and Chancey is spending the night with your grandmother. So Nucci took her over there. Lou is at choir, and we'll be home in about an hour, and shortly after we're going to the pep rally at the high school. Sorry, hush. When we get the chores done, I'm going to take a nap myself, and then you and I can go over to the church." Did she say church?
Yeah.
Did she say church? I wasn't sure. Just looking at the mess in front of me and knowing that everyone was going to be doing something more exciting made me angry. I called out to God, "God, oh Lord, please hear me." No answer. Then I called out to Mama as she walked away. "Mama, Mama." She didn't answer either. I knew Mama would be upset if I didn't finish the dishes. I didn't intend to agitate her, but I had to call out to her once more because I was miserable. "Mama, I can't wash all these dishes by myself. There's too many pots in here with this stuff on it." Mama didn't like us calling across rooms from one room to another. I knew she was just shaking her head and raising her eyes as she stood in her bedroom folding laundry. I knew Mama would always look towards the heaven when she was happy or vexed. I could just picture her pitching aside the laundry, falling back on the bed, trying to figure out why she had been given such a mulish door. When she didn't appear, I got up from the table and started on the dishes. A while later, I had most of them done when I heard her footsteps coming towards the kitchen. I was scrubbing a black skillet, which was too heavy for my small hands, too heavy for hers, too heavy for mine as an adult. Mama reached over my shoulder and took hold of the cast iron pan. "Not too hard, honey. You're taking off the seasoning on the pan," she said. "Why don't you dry your hands and go entertain yourself for a while until it's time to get ready. It's a special night, and you are going with me. Mama, no. I don't want to go to the pep rally. I want to go to the pep rally with Lou. She said I could. Not the church, Mama. Everybody will be at the school, okay? No, baby. Answered Mama, you're going with me. Lou will be with Randy, and they are too old for you to hang around. This is important. Now go play for a while and then put on some clean clothes and comb your hair, and we will take a cab to the church. I interrupted. But Mama, Lou won't mind, I promise. I could tell Mama was trying hard to stay focused on the pan and not on my complaining. I knew she didn't want to start me crying over not being able to go out with my sister. I could see Mama was excited, but also worried about the gathering. With all the happenings going on in Selma lately, she finished the dishes and went to her bedroom to get dressed. I heard Lou stomp into the hallway, rush into the bathroom to freshen up. She washed and dressed quickly to get out of the house. I caught a glimpse of her as she stood near Mama's room listening to her instructions. Lou wore her new cotton V-neck pullover and blue jeans. I felt the hot rise of jealousy swim through my head. I wanted to go with her. She passed by our bedroom and waved to me. I waved back and she smiled to make me happy. I started dressing quickly before Mama called me. After I got ready, I sprang into the room, announced my readiness to go to the church with her. Mama was leaning back on the bed with her eyes closed. Mama, I'm ready to go, I said with a sass. Mama sat up and walked over to the phone to call the cab. She cut her eye at me. That was the first one. This is Miss Brown calling. May I get a cab at Rain Street to go to Brown Chapel Church, please, she said. Okay, 20 minutes? Yes, that's fine. We'll be outside, thank you. Oh, who am I speaking with? Okay. Hey, Gina, how you? And what car number is coming? 65? How's your mother? That's good, thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Mama made another phone call to let the neighbors know she and I were leaving home and to watch out for the other children when they returned and keep an eye on the house. Then she turned to me and instructed me using the point of the finger to go outside. Cab 65 came on time. Lacey was driving that night, not his son. The trip to the church took longer than normal. An unusual number of people were in the streets. That happened here. Think about it. And on the sidewalks, all going to church. People were everywhere, walking, riding on bikes. Some cars had 3 passengers in the front seat and more in the back, including small children giggling and punching each other in the cramped spaces. The traffic was moving at a crawl. Mama took a look at the gold Elgin watch on her wrist and mumbled something to herself as she leaned forward over the seat in front of me. Let us out here, please. We are almost there anyway, and we can walk quicker than you can drive through this traffic. Excuse me. Lacey pulled over, and Mama handed him $2. Thank you, she said. I hope you can get through this safely. Sure I will, said the driver. It's all about patience. All about patience. And I'm hoping he show up for us, all of us. What you saying, Lacey? You know better than that. He's here right here. I know since last week, quiet as it's kept. A. Sanderson let it slip. Now, Lacey, don't go back to the station and tell everybody, because we don't want to spread it that much. Now, you be cool. You hear me, Lacey? Lacey reached into the glove compartment for change to give Mama, and she refused the coins. Mrs. Brown, I've known you and your husband for years. There's no way this gonna get back to knowing. You sure you don't want this change? He asked with the 2 quarters between his fingers. I'm fine. Use it for the collection plate at the church. Brown won't miss it. And they laughed together as we got out and Mama closed the car door. Taking my hand, Mama looked at me and winked her eye. He's showing up here. I can feel it. I remained confused and angry about Mama's decision. She had spoiled everything for me. The one time I had been invited to go to watch a pep rally with my sister, Mama had to say no and drag me off to a church to hear a visiting preacher preach. I was boiling mad. Mama and I walked along the sidewalk with a host of others in front of us on their way to the church. As we entered on Clark Avenue, a residential area, I could see through the windows of some houses the flashes of the evening's news on blinds. No doubt reporting on the war in Vietnam and the war going on around the country where demonstrators were demanding equal rights for all. Mama held on to my hand tightly as we neared the Carver Projects and Brown Chapel Church. There were lots of shiny black cars parked along the streets while white men in black suits and white shirts ran around with large cameras taking pictures. I could hear the pop of flash bulbs and the click of their cameras everywhere, and wherever I looked, there were children of all ages. Some with parents and some in clusters with other boys and girls. Most of the children lived in the recently built housing projects and had become familiar with the everyday commotion of the civil rights activities going on around them. Brown Chapel Church in Selma was the home base of the movement, and the Carver homes temporarily sheltered many activists engaged in the struggle. Priests, ministers, nuns, movie stars, singers, Africans, observers, students, and northern white protesters, people from all walks of life, came forth to be part of the mass rallies, the sleep-ins, the boycotts, and marches in Selma. Students took to dismissing themselves out of school like R.B. Hudson High in order to be part of it. As students took to the streets, they were shouting and singing, "We shall overcome." Preachers living in the area of the school would come out on the front porches and demand that any marches started must be peaceful ones. The preachers also demanded that we get out of the streets and stay on the sidewalks and calm our voices down. Old Negro women appeared behind screen doors of old rundown homes and pointed dry old fingers, urging students to go on, y'all. Keep fighting for your rights. God sees what they done to us and he don't like it. Y'all got the right. Just don't let nobody turn you around. And then when the crowd would break out singing, ain't nobody gonna let us turn, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, I'm gonna keep on a-talking. Do you remember? Marching up to freedom's land. Ain't gonna let Jim Clark turn me round. Sing it. Turn me round. Turn me round. Ain't gonna let Jim Clark turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up the freedom's land. Hey, ain't gonna let what is his name? Al go. Turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let Al go. Turn me round, I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom's land. This was a call and response song, like so many civil rights songs. Mama later said that those songs they sang in the movement stayed in her head every day for years. When Mama and I reached the church, she urged me to quickly go up the steps, something I did not want to do. So I hesitated, not wanting to obey her. I stopped in my tracks and stood stubbornly on the steps. She took my hand and turned me around in front of her. And that's when she stared into my eyes without speaking. Her black eyes said it all. I reached for her gloved hand, glad to have the white cotton glove between us. I didn't want to feel the flesh of her hand in mine for fear of her reading my every thought. I was mad, so mad I could feel a hot tear roll out of my eye, down my face and lock itself underneath my chin. Mama stopped again, dead in her tracks, and stood in front of me, letting go of my hand. This time, I lowered my head and my eyes. I had been there before. And I knew what Mama had, my mother had enough. Now you listen here, young. I've had enough of your snatching away, your sniffling, your whining, and your back talk. We're going in that church, and I'm not turning back. And you are not going anywhere with your sister. Now you take that handkerchief out of your pocket. Wipe your eyes, blow your nose, and straighten your face out before we go through that door. And you got less than 1 minute. Do you hear me? I nodded in agreement and followed her orders this time. And honey, if you show your behind up in that church tonight, I will spank you right where you stand and then tell your daddy on you when he comes off the road. Do you hear me? Yes, ma'am. I hear you. I relaxed my hand in hers and let the cool, crisp air blow through my headscarf as we went up the stairs. I kept my other hand in my dress pocket, and I simply forgot about the ball game. Strangely enough, I felt that my crying and the lecture she had given me had done me some good. I felt better and soon began to take in the evening. Once inside the church, Mama and I found seats as fast as we could because it was filling up quickly. Excuse me, may I have a napkin? Oh, sure. Thank you.
You know?
No, sir, I'm fine. Thank you so much. But hold on to it.
I got you.
I felt better and soon began to take in the evening. Once inside the church, Mama and I found seats as fast as we could because it was filling up quickly. We sat 3 rows in front of the pulpit on the right side where 2 of Mama's friends who were ushers came over to talk to us. Mama asked them to stand in front of us while she prayed. She said King was late and she felt the need to pray. I didn't understand what she meant at the time about King being late because most older people call God King. And it simply didn't mean anything to me at that time when she said it. One of the ushers sat behind me as the other stood. Mama was sitting, rocking with her head bowed, and started singing her prayer. But there was so much commotion, only I could hear it. Her prayer was, I've got to call on you today, Lord. Something's happening here. I've got to call on you today to tell you about something that's going on here. Devil's gotten loose in Alabama, Lord, and he's waging war on the people. The devil's loose in Alabama. He showed up in the seat of the House of Power, showed up on the police force, showed up in the White House. He showed up on the roads in Alabama. I want to tell you what we need you to do, Lord. I want you to call Gabriel.
Mama.
Call him and tell him to perch the angels on the back roads. Perch them up in the trees. Seek them in the churches. You know what to do, Lord. Help us, protect us, and stand by Martin Luther King. Because he's going to take us right in the right direction. He's going to take us to Montgomery. Be near him, Lord. Amen. My mama finished praying, and the ushers moved on. I was excited to see all the children, the men and the women. Many we had never seen before. They all had come to see King, as they would call him in a hard southern accent. I looked around while Mama sat quiet. There was so much movement and commotion as the ushers walked the aisles and helped to sit people. Cameras with big bright lights and those thick snake-like cords were set up in the back. Ladies had begun to fan themselves from the heat of the lights, and someone had started singing a song. And after that, someone else started a song, one that stayed in my mama's head. The songs weren't always started from the beginning. Some were sung from the middle, just like a tree that's planted by the water. As this beautiful singing went on, and somebody was singing, and somebody was singing, and somebody was singing, people sat and talked, laughed, and greeted each other with handshakes and hellos. and someone came on stage and announced that everyone should try to find a seat. The singing and the joyful chatter stopped. I was standing near my seat when suddenly a man I saw in a gray suit behind us, pointing in the direction towards the dais, he screamed, "There he is! There King!" I turned around to see his people rose up from their seats and started calling his name. Clapping, jumping, holding on to their head, hugging each other, stomping and dancing and praising God. "King, King, King, there he is!" I didn't feel my mama's arms around me, pressing me to sit down. She had tears streaming down her face when I finally heard her saying, "Sit down." I sat down, but couldn't take my eyes off this well-dressed, short, stocky man. He was right there in front of me. His face was brown and smooth, and the collar on his white shirt was whiter than the ones we soaked in lye soap for Dad. "Look, baby, honey, that's King," shouted Mama. "There he is. Woo! Woo! Yes, sir. Thank you, Jesus. King, King, King." Can you see it?
Yes.
Clapping, more jumping. Lord, oh Jesus, it's gonna be all right now. King! These were the chants and feelings and cries of the people in the church that evening. All the people, young, white, colored, and the children, so many children, as the old people say, they tore the church up with all their jumping and their shouting. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Slowly walked across the dais, took his position at the pulpit, and looking out on the crowd, he raised two well-cleansed palms. The people sat down and became quiet. Only the rustling of fabric on the church benches and the shuffling of shoes could be heard. Then Dr. King began to speak, and the voice and the words were not on the TV or the radio. I was in front of him, and my mother was there.
Take your time.
It's okay.
Take your time.
I heard him say, "We have the right to vote. Give us the ballot." So surreal was his voice, which mesmerized me, and the charisma of the time with the unfolding of events, and this giant of a man stepping forward to bring justice at any cost to the people. It hypnotized me. I grew limp and trembled under the sound of his voice. His voice was like a dream that I dreamt each day while listening to the radio. Mama grabbed me. She grabbed hold of me and rocked me back and forth as she listened to his words. My head lay on her chest, and I could hear her heart beating fast as her tears fell from her eyes and into my hair. Dr. King did not speak long that night. Soon he was ushered out the church as the loud enthusiasm continued. By then, we were all standing up to sing "We Shall Overcome." With arms locked together and swaying, we sang from the bottom of our hearts with smiles on our faces, smiles that drank the flow of our tears that ran from our eyes with no hands to wipe them away because everyone's arms were locked together as we sang. We were united. After Dr. King left, we heard from other speakers, but I don't remember anything else. Eventually, we were dismissed. The people were so jubilant, leaving the church for home. One of my dad's friends offered us a ride that we accepted. Mama sat up front with the driver and his wife, and I sat in back with two other women. Everyone talked about how well King spoke and how good he looked, how he had outsmarted Jim Clark, the Dallas County Sheriff, who wanted to prevent King from speaking. I listened and held my arms around myself for fear of taking flight. I held myself against the heavy steel door of the car because it was the strongest thing that could keep me from flying away. I heard Mama tell the grown folks that I wasn't shy. I was overcome. I would be all right when I got home, she said, at me. And she touched my hand and blessed me, but I never turned to look at her. Later that night, I asked Mama, why did Dr. King stay such a short time with us? And she replied that Dr. King had defied an injunction, temporarily halting civil rights activities. And that was why he spoken quietly and quickly at Brown Chapel that evening. And from there, he would be going to speak to the youth in another church. King knew the people were ready. These were his people. And he did not want them to lose the momentum. After seeing Dr. King that night, my thoughts and mind were now set on freedom. Selma was changing, and I was changed. The door had opened for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Afterword of the book. In this book, the e-book for the young adults, I read the preface and the afterword to open with the author and to lead with the author. In the middle, Karen Chilton reads the whole book, and she does a really great job. The afterword. My narrations open up the wounds and itch the scars that I and Selma's people carry. And I mean all the people, not just blacks. My voice will not be quiet, nor will I quiet the voices of those who gave me the talk. I wrote my stories of Selma, for it is also their stories, their hearts and prayers and voices. My voice is their voice, and I will never forget my Selma. And here is where hope for the future lies. Hope is in the telling. Hope is in our voices and in our stories that we share as a tool of freedom. Hope is in our stories that free us and allow us to reach into the hearts of others and give them the freedom to speak as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You said question?
Question, Willie Mae?
Ask me anything.
Here I go.
I knew it would be you. Ask me anything. And don't be shy. Remember my mother said, she's not shy. She's overcome. It meant that I can see through you.
Okay.
Ask me.
Looking back as a child, where you were, and looking at it today, what happened? Where are we?
We have changed. But sometimes the more we change, the more we stay the same. The struggle never stops. People ask me, Miss Brown, did you see the movie Selma? I said, I helped write it. All the people in Selma wrote it. There was no Hollywood here for them. We didn't have a script. We never sat anybody on Edmonds Pettus Bridge with a piano, okay? Unless it was Miss Baez and her guitar, you know, singing songs for the movement, right? Where are we now? Now we are in a position to make a better Selma. Selma that you will own. You'll be responsible. It's wide open. Everything is wide open. You go out there and look in that street. There's nobody on it. Make it the way you want it. And don't stop and don't believe anyone when they tell you, when they ask you, why y'all doing that? We're doing it because we were told to make it better. It's us. It's nobody. This is history.
Thank you.
Yes, it's us. And we must
Thank you.
fight for what belongs to us.
Tell it.
We have a historical town. If someone is not cleaning it up, be it physically or mentally, you do it. You do it. This is going to remind you of what we did then. But history repeats itself. Should I start writing another one of these? Right? Let's write one where things have changed and we can see it. Everybody deserves affordable housing. Everybody deserves clean water. Everybody deserves to be happy. You can't buy it. Everybody deserves to worship the way they want to. Let's be brothers and sisters. Stop bullying people. Tornadoes don't come to places just because it doesn't have anything to do. Okay? It don't come. Now, I'm Buddhist. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Let me read it. I love it. I was born a Christian.
All right.
One thing I can tell you is that when they start praying, something's going to move.
Sooner or later.
Something's going to move because they care about people. Let's continue to respect the whites, the Indians, the blacks, whoever. These people have the same thing we have in our body. You got 2 kidneys. I think we got 2, right? We got 2 kidneys. Right there, we got 2 kidneys. We got everything. You can share that stuff. Nobody's going to say, oh, Paul is dying, but he don't want a black kidney.
True.
Right? Let's start loving each other. Let's build, and loving is not, love it's respect and dignity. Let's bring it into Selma. Let's talk to each other. Let's have dialogue. That's how we are going to change it. And demand. And write letters. Write them every day. They're not doing anything. I was just up there in the White House. They ain't doing, write them and demand it. Speak to your judges and speak to your lawyers. Tell somebody what you want.
I'll ask you one more question, if I may. If I may. You look at what's going on in the Supreme Court today. You look at the Pell Grant, the loans. You have them saying they don't want, because they are fortunate, didn't have to have the grant, the ones who need it shouldn't get it. But then at the same time, they're ready to turn around and say, give all this money to Ukraine. And we're sitting here not saying a word. What is wrong with us?
You said, and we're sitting here not saying a word.
Yes.
We don't have to say a word. There's paper and there are pencils and there's computers. Write them. Call them out. Your vote is gold.
Bingo.
So vote and protect yourself before they tell you in the airplane, right? Put the mask over your face first.
Yeah, right.
All right? You have to make sure that you are voting, you are talking to your they want you to talk to them. Call them up. Tell them what you need. Don't be afraid. We the people. It's the Constitution. It didn't say we're the blacks and we're the whites and we're the Indians. We the people. Okay?
Yes.
Any other
Absolutely.
questions?
Willie Mae is going to be out at the table, continued fellowship, buying the book, $18. Joyously tell you that the money goes to the public library.
Yay!
Yay! So, if you'd like to write your check or use your little, what do you call it, Venmo, we'd love to have you do that. Continue to enjoy Willie Mae's company. Cannot possibly thank you all enough for
Thank you
coming.
so much.
Naisha, all of you, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
So I'm going to move you straight to the that table.
Well, I enjoyed myself.
Thank you all so much.
Poor thing.